The evolution of party politics. Political parties are organizations of people with the same beliefs on public policy and social issues. In order to execute these ideas, political parties vote and campaign for candidates that reflect their ideas and who will be able to best execute their beliefs. The United States executes a two-party system, which means that there are two dominating parties within the political system. There are oftentimes third-party candidates, like from the Green Party or the Tea Party, or even independent candidates that will try and run for office, but are often plowed over by the larger two parties due to the lack of funding and media attention. Political parties are the base of the political spectrum in the United States, and they have always played a large role in the election of candidates. George Washington was not a part of political parties because he held a strong opposition to political parties. He felt that they were disastrous and a danger for the American citizens. He thought that the idea of political parties did nothing but bad for the society because they would heavily segregate the country and pit people against each other. Even with his opposition, the first political party, the Federalist Party, was created by Alexander Hamilton under Washington's administration. I have already intimated you to the dangers of parties in the state, and warn you in the most solemn manner against the baneful effects of the spirit of the party generally. George Washington. The Federalist Party was created by Alexander Hamilton in opposition to state power. He believed strongly in the strength of the federal government and that states should have minimal power. The Federalists were in strong support of the Constitution, and with that, the Federalist Papers were born. The Federalist Papers were a collection of 85 letters to newspapers, but were later made into a book to rally support for the ratification of the Constitution with the states of the new nation. The Anti-Federalist Party was formed in opposition to the Federalist Party. They were in support of states' rights in the Articles of Confederation, which granted states with significant power, more so than the Constitution would. They were the prime targets to the Federalist Papers. The second party system consisted with the rise of the Whig Party and the Democrat Party. The Whigs were the origin of conservative ideals. These conservative Protestants believed that Congress should have more power than the President. Meanwhile, the Democrats opposed with differing thoughts. They believed that states should hold a lot of power and that the federal government should be minimal. They were also strong advocates for westward expansion to expand the country into further territory. With the third party system, we see a shift from the Whigs to the Republicans. The Whigs were a new political party that was started by Henry Clay. His goal was to ensure Jeffersonian democracy in opposition to the Democrats. The Whigs were also to have a decent run in the presidential elections with the support they gained from the wide spectrum of Americans in varying economic distributions. The Republicans were on a mission to expand the country. They supported the industries that were continuing to grow during the Industrial Revolution. The Republican Party recognized that the growing industries in America were an important thing for the future of America. So much of their effort was put toward the growing industries. Education also had the support of the Republicans. They saw that education was also the future of the country, being that the quality of education at that time was going to be the future of the country. Another thing the Republicans began to do was moral reform. Such things like the temperance movement to stop the sale of alcohol, to the Second Great Awakening, which was another religious movement that swept the country, to organizing reform against slavery in the South. The Republican Party was the route to the Reform Age. When we move to the 20th century, we begin to see the formation of Democrats and Republicans that begin to mold into the modern-day parties. Democrats are at the brink of Southern influence, which causes them to oppose the Republicans on many of the social issues, like slavery, race, and a long list of other issues. The Republicans, however, were very dominant in the 20th century due to people's desire for change and equality. They were strongly nationalist and believed heavily in our country's ability, which in the long run would lead us into World War I. Now, we see the move into present-day parties, the ideals and characteristics of what we think of today as being Republicans and Democrats. The Democrat Party takes on a very progressive quality. Their fight for equality is very high today with the rallies for equal rights for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning community, equalities between men and women, equalities between race, the right to choose to have an abortion, etc. Meanwhile, the Republican Party has become one of the social conservative side, meaning that they are opposing social reform that goes against their religious texts. They are also for the deregulation of businesses and are in support of the small businesses because they believe that small businesses are what makes our country operate and that they are the future of success in our country. Minor parties play a huge role in modern politics. Minor parties almost always never gain enough attention to have a strong change in the presidential election, but many Americans often find them appealing. Minor parties are able to bring up issues and get attention on them, and many Americans appreciate this fact. Minor parties have the ability to change the outcome of the election because they will steal votes from the two dominant parties. Minor parties struggle to ever gain enough recognition to succeed in a presidential election. The media does not give minor parties even a fraction of the amount of attention as the Democrats and the Republicans get, mainly because the United States has operated under a two-party system for so many years that the minor parties get shoved to the side. Many minor parties do not have enough money to campaign, which also leaves them out of the media spotlight. They do, however, act as spoilers within the election. Many times, a minor party candidate would split a party. For example, Ross Perot. In 1992, Ross Perot ran for president against Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush. He was able to split the Republican Party, meaning that many of the Republicans voted for Bush, but many also took their vote to Perot. So even though he did not win, he still dramatically affected the election. Some of the most iconic election races in our history consist of the following. One being John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, when they took the stage in the first ever presidential election race. It was a harsh divide between the Federalists and the Republicans. Lincoln versus Douglas versus Breckinridge versus Bell was iconic because it was around the time of slavery. The Lincoln election race was so significant because the country knew that if Lincoln was elected president, then slavery would be abolished. It was a race based on one social issue. The Clinton-Bush-Perot election, as previously discussed, was important because it was one of the only times in American history where a minor party candidate was able to make such a huge impact on the election. The Bush-Gore-Nader election was extremely memorable because of how close the race actually was. Al Gore lost the election by 100 votes in the state of Florida, and people think that their votes don't matter. Presidential debates have become very imperative for the presidential elections. Debates have been known to be the centerpiece to modern presidential campaigns, and that is true. They are opportunities for the candidates to get their voice heard and for the policies and platforms to be advertised to a wide audience. They also show how well a candidate is at speaking, answering tough questions, and how they handle the pressure of a debate with trying questions. The 2016 presidential election race is one of the most important and unique elections we have seen in a long time. There are two female candidates, Hillary Clinton in the Democratic Party and Carly Fiorina taking the stage in the Republican Party. With this, there are many Republican candidates running that have never held political office. Carly Fiorina has never been in political office, although she was the CEO of Hewlett-Packard, one of the top businesses in the entire country. Dr. Ben Carson is one of the best neurosurgeons the world has ever seen. He was able to separate two children conjoined by the brain, one of the only surgeons to ever have done that. And now, in his retirement, he is taking a stab at presidential office. He is gaining a lot of support for his traditional views and common sense. Donald Trump is a New York CEO that has never held political office as well, but has built many successful businesses and a well-renowned businessman. In the Democratic Party, there is a candidate who claims to be a socialist running under the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders, who has gained much attention from the millennial generation. In this election, social issues are also becoming very important. The war over gay marriage as well as abortion has the country churning with discussion and arguments. This race is also crucial because of the high amount of foreign policy that is on the table at the moment, specifically in the Middle East with the Iran nuclear deal as well as our war going on with Iraq and Afghanistan. This election is very important, and it's very important for people to be knowledgeable about this election because it will ultimately be the future of all of millennials as well as everyone else.